So now let's get to the main event.
Steve would say, by the way, not a nice guy. Not a nice guy.
Steve's reality distortion field, a term out of Star Trek.
You know, they say there are two important days in a man's life. The most important days. The day that you realize that everyone's manipulating you and you're never going to get what you want out of life. And then the second day is you realize that you can do something about that because you equally can learn how to be manipulative and persuasive to get what you want out of life.
I don't give a what the students want or the parents think or anybody thinks. It's what I want. They don't know what they want till I tell them what they want.
And then there's a third day, okay? And on that day, Steve Jobs was born.
What was so brilliant about Jobs?
The ability to convince himself and others to believe almost anything, using his indomitable will and charisma to bend any fact to suit his purpose.
No, in this video, we're going to look at the melodic features of Steve Jobs' voice. So Steve Jobs, if you want to look at someone who is like, okay, they were truly influential in the delivery of their ideas.
Some people have thought that that's a netbook. The problem is, netbooks aren't better at anything.
You know, they say there was a Steve Jobs bubble, right? 20 feet within, what was the actual bubble? Is it 20 feet?
When he was creating the original Macintosh, Steve Jobs would come in and he would say, we need to have this done by next month. And people would say, no, you can't actually write this much code by next month.
And then you took a string that was 20 feet long, and then you put a pencil on the end of that string, let's say chalk, and you drew a circle around Steve Jobs.
This is iMac. The whole thing is translucent. You can see into it. It's so cool.
Well, he was standing on the middle of the string so that it was actually about 20 feet around him.
And he would say, yes, you can do it.
This is called the Steve Jobs bubble. And what they say is that in the Steve Jobs bubble, just time and space warped around the ideas that he portrayed to you. You just thought you could do anything.
And in the end, he would not take no for an answer.
Why was that the case? Why was Steve Jobs able to convince anyone?
Just picking it up and looking at it and thinking, you know,
of the future that he had in his mind, that it was going to be better than the future that everyone else in the aggregate had in their mind.
We can sell this.
Well,
because you don't have to know anything about what's in that box. All we have to do is hold this up and go, do you want this?
Was it his ideas? Was it the ideas themselves that made the future more compelling? Well, if anyone's going to change the course of the future.
Your time is limited. So don't waste it living someone else's life.
Steve Jobs has this thing he used to say, is that the only way to really change the future is to invent it.
Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking.
But if you can't communicate the ideas that you want to change the future with, then you're as good as every other person who sits on a couch and says, you know what would be a good idea, and then does nothing about it.
Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary.
A barrier to entry, the moat that you have to get around, is the ability to communicate those ideas effectively.
If there's going to be a third category of device, it's going to have to be better at these kinds of tasks than a laptop or a smartphone. Otherwise, it has no reason for being.
In the last 100 years, Steve Jobs, founder and CEO of the most successful company in the history of the United States economy, likely in the history of the world. Maybe, I don't know. That's who knows. I don't know enough about the history of the world to know if that's the case, or how you could even compare that.
They're not better than a laptop at anything. They're just cheaper.
Steve Jobs is the most persuasive, dynamic, charismatic, effective communicator.
They're just cheap laptops.
Of anyone that's lived in the last 100 years.
And we don't think that they're a third category device.
It's not given to us to peer into the mysteries of the future.
And probably the only reason that we don't go further out than that is because 100 is a nice round number, but because the audio quality gets pretty shoddy. You can't really compare all these charisma features that we find in this study.
Till I avow my hope and faith, sure and inviolate.
So from the 1920s till honestly recently, only like 10 years ago or so.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing.
Charisma was thought to be a feature of the rhetoric of the speaker.
Not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
So the words that they were saying, that was thought to be the key feature of leadership.
Where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate.
If the peoples of the world are to conduct an intelligent search for peace, they must be armed with the significant facts of today's existence.
What we now know is that there are features in someone's persuasion and influence, in their ability to persuade to their ideas, that are far more important than the words that they say. And those are melodic features in the vocal, acoustic, prosodic patterns of someone's voice.
One of the hardest things when you're trying to affect change,
things that they do with their voice,
is that
the rate at which they do them,
people like this gentleman,
how they fluctuate,
are right in some areas.
We're going to look at a study that was done that proves that Steve Jobs was dynamically, far and away, greater, better, more proficient, truly excellent in the features of his persuasion than anyone else.
Remove them from the iPhone, for example?
No.
So how do you look at the
we want to make a better product than they do, and we do.
The study used 6 criteria that determine whether or not someone is perceived as persuasive and influential, charismatic.
We're trying to make great products for people.
They took these 6 features and mapped them onto Steve Jobs' most impactful product launches, where he truly moved the needle in the economy of the launch itself. And they found that Steve Jobs excels in vocal charisma.
I chuckled when I saw this.
We're going to look at the first iPhone product launch in this video and look at these 6 features of Steve Jobs' voice and the patterns with which he speaks. It is an absolute masterclass. And the thing that is not only interesting about this, but that has huge implications for anyone listening, watching, or wants to learn about it, is that you'll find that these 6 features are easily applicable to anyone that wants to learn them, and they don't break you from your own personality. If you're in sales, if you're a husband or a father, if you're just trying to work your way up the corporate ladder in your job, or if you're just trying to, maybe more nobly, be the type of person who can truly influence people for good. If you're an entrepreneur and you want to get your ideas to the point to where people will actually listen to them, these 6 features are easily applicable, but they're profoundly impactful when you listen to them from a master in Steve Jobs.
Well, so far, I'd have to say that people seem to be liking iPads, you know?
My name is Hayden Chapin. I've been obsessing over this stuff for 12 years. I used these types of first principles scientific thinking, persuasion, and influence stuff as a sales leader, sales coach, and sales executive, where I was able to build teams that were just frankly world-class in their ability to deliver on results consistently in any market across the country, any age group. This is a young group of college kids, really, was mostly who I worked with, that they would go out and knock doors and make 6 figures plus, some now millions of dollars in their 20s. What we found is that you can replicate the features of charisma to the successful outcomes that you desire. And that is a profound idea. So take a look at this, guys. I think you're going to find it interesting at the very least. But if you just take one step further and apply it, or you want me to help you apply it, let me know in the comments and I'll let you guys see some more stuff on this later. Or if you'd like us to watch more people, like the most persuasive and influential people in the world, and what are the patterns of their voice that make them charismatic, let us know who, because we're probably already doing it. And we'll release those very soon as well. I hope you guys love the video. So number 1.
These are not 3 separate devices. This is one device.
This study said intonation patterns used by Steve Jobs are characterized by high and variable pitches. He is doing this like it is a master class of how to manufacture charisma out of thin air.
Every once in a while, a revolutionary product comes along that changes everything. Apple has been, well, first of all, one's very fortunate if you get to work on just one of these in your career.
He's going to be speaking higher than normal people. And does he go up and down in that high register of voice if you were to plot the notes on a scale?
Apple's been very fortunate. It's been able to introduce a few of these into the world. In 1984, we introduced the Macintosh. It didn't just change Apple. It changed the whole computer industry.
Okay, so right here, I would guess that he's speaking on the lower end of his fundamental frequency. So Steve's baseline frequency of his voice, the notes that his voice is making as he speaks, I bet he's probably on this lower end at the start of this product launch. But you can hear him varying it, going up and down. Like he's never just speaking in a monotone, right? It's always up and down.
In 2001, we introduced the first iPod.
Still at his lower frequency.
It didn't just...
Okay, so you can hear it raising now.
It didn't just change the way we all listen to music.
Man, this is so
good. It changed the entire music industry. Well, today, we're introducing 3 revolutionary products of this class.
Still
The
at that
first
lower.
one
Okay, so now he's raising it. That's super interesting, dude.
is a widescreen iPod
one.
with touch controls.
It's a widescreen iPod with touch controls. Oh, that's so interesting.
The second is a revolutionary mobile phone.
Okay, and you can, oh man, dude. This is one mark of an extremely charismatic speaker, is someone who matches and meets the audience where they are. So as the audience starts to build, it's cheering. Naturally, when you're cheering, you're far above the fundamental frequency. You're at the very high end of the register of voice.
Is a revolutionary mobile phone.
Steve is matching that, speaking at the higher end of his register.
It didn't just change the way we all listen to music.
Varying above and at his fundamental frequency.
It didn't just change Apple. It changed the whole computer industry.
And he does it so naturally. It's like, if you didn't know how to match someone socially, it's very hard if you're not instinctually good at it, but you can learn it. Steve is just so good at matching people in their frequencies.
It's a revolutionary mobile phone. And the third.
So now he's a bit higher. And the third
is a breakthrough internet communications device.
Now he's back at that lower register. Breakthrough. Variability.
3 things. A widescreen iPod with touch controls, a revolutionary mobile phone, and a breakthrough internet communications device.
You could really hear him drop back down right there. And a breakthrough internet communications device.
And an internet communicator. An iPod.
Okay, now here we go higher.
Phone. Are you getting it?
Are you getting it? So normally an iPod, a phone. Are you getting it? Now that's higher,
3
right?
separate devices. This is one device.
Dude, this is freaking a masterclass in charisma. Holy cow.
And we are calling it iPhone.
Okay.
Today,
and we are calling it iPhone.
Today,
Okay, so clearly he's proving the point of this study here. This study said intonation patterns used by Steve Jobs are characterized by high and variable pitches. He is doing this like it is a master class of how to manufacture charisma out of thin air, purely just on how he fluctuates the pitch of his voice. Tim Cook is far inferior to Steve Jobs from a charisma standpoint. Watch.
Good morning. This is my first product launch since being named CEO. I'm sure you didn't know that.
The first product launch since being named CEO.
And it is a pleasure to host you today. I love Apple. And I consider it the privilege of a life.
This was Steve Jobs. He would say, it is a pleasure to host you today. Tim Cook is saying, it is a pleasure to host you today. And he draws it out at the end. Typically, that's viewed as patronizing. I'm going to come back to this. Dude, this is good. I'm going to stick with the iPhone launch. I can already see all 6 of these criteria in this one launch already. Number 2, what else makes Steve Jobs charismatic? As measured by the study, the loudness patterns used by Steve Jobs are characterized by high and variable intensity levels. What we should see here, if this is accurate, he's speaking loudly, but goes back and forth between varying loudness. Here it is. Okay, so that's a little bit softer. Here it is.
No.
That's fine.
Actually, here it is, but we're going to leave it there for now. So, before we get into it.
Okay. Listen to that just a second. Listen to how he says, we're going to leave it there for now, and he kind of trails off in loudness, and then right away to get attention back from the audience, because there's this fine line in very charismatic speakers on stage where they've almost lost control of the audience because of the fanaticism, but they have this incredible ability with the loudness of their voice and these abrupt, more loud tones to pull the audience back in. That's exactly what Steve Jobs does here, pretty brilliantly, at least from my perspective. It's right before this.
Here it is, but we're going to leave it there for now.
Leave it there for now.
So,
and then he's pulling you right back in.
Before we get into it,
and the audience is still,
let me talk about a category of things, the most advanced.
He even does it there again.
Let me talk
about
a category
and then he'll go
of things.
a little bit
The most
louder.
Advanced phones are called smartphones, so they say, and they typically combine a phone plus some email capability, plus they say it's the internet, sort of the baby internet, into one device, and they all have...
Dude, I really want to talk about the implied obviousness tonality that he's using a lot, but I'm going to save that for another video. If you guys want to hear more about the specific tonal phrases and patterns that Steve Jobs and other charismatic speakers use that you can use too, make sure that you subscribe, like this video so that I know that you actually like it and so that I can grow my channel, please. And then also, we have a PDF that can teach you how to close more deals. It's not going to have all of this tonal stuff because I'll really need to make videos that you are able to buy from me soon. They will be out, if not out during this, and you'll see exactly what I mean, and I can teach you exactly how to do this. But if you just want to close more deals instantly, just by reading a piece of paper, a PDF, that's for free. Download that, link in the description. On another video, we'll talk about more of the specific tonal patterns that Steve Jobs is using. But for now, we're just focused on how does he vary the loudness of his voice.
These plastic little keyboards on them. And the problem is that they're not so smart and they're not so easy to use. So if you kind of make a Business School 101 graph of the smart axis and the easy to use axis, phones, regular cell phones are kind of right there. They're not so smart.
He just does this so well,
not
man.
so
He's
easy to use.
He's constantly going between loud and kind of loud.
But smartphones are definitely a little smarter, but they actually are harder to use. They're really complicated. Just for the basic stuff, people have a hard time figuring out how to use them.
And he's a little lower now.
Well, we don't want to do either one of these things.
Okay, so you hear this in these like in between just one word or syllable at a time. He'll go like louder and softer in the same word. The extremely charismatic people do this. You emphasize syllables with the loudness and the pitch fluctuation. And that's, I mean, Steve Jobs, he's continuing to put on a masterclass in performance of charisma and getting you on his side for product launches. And obviously they have product that backed it up, right? But man, this is just so fascinating to me.
Frog product that is way smarter than any mobile device has ever been, and super easy to use. This
super easy to use. So you said super easy to use. This is what iPhone is. So just like when you pause, people will remember the thing that you said before and after, most likely, or they'll start paying attention. If you do the same thing with fluctuations of your voice or with the fluctual loudness of your voice, the same thing. So watch how he does this before he drops into, say, iPhone, because he wants iPhone to just be like, that's the star of the show, right? I'm just drawing your attention to the iPhone. He's going to go loud and then drop down as he says iPhone, just to get your attention on that word.
That is way smarter than any mobile device has ever been, and super easy to use. This is what iPhone is.
Okay? This is what iPhone is. Dude, this is so freaking good. Okay.
We're going to reinvent the phone.
So that's loudness. We're going to keep watching this, but let's go on to the next point from this study. We need to just check if Cook, does he speak with varying loudness?
Time to have worked here for almost 14 years, and I am very excited about this new role.
Very excited. Oh, geez, dude, this is night and day different.
I want to especially welcome you to...
Also, dude, especially, how do you feel about people that say especially? Be honest. Put it in the comments how you feel about them, and I won't tell you how I feel about them. But if you say especially, you can get help. What do you say, especially or especially?
Especially.
There's an S, not an X in that, right? Yeah, especially. You can get help. It can be better than it is.
Campus. This campus serves as a kind of second home for many of us. And so it's sort of like inviting you into our home. In particular, I want to welcome you to this room that we call our
The loudness of his voice is it's on the lower end of the loudness, and it kind of fluctuates on that lower end, but not nearly as much as Steve Jobs' loudness fluctuates. Dude, that's such a great measure of charisma. Holy cow. Okay, we've got intonation patterns. He's fluctuating at the high register of his fundamental frequency. You can see it actually way more in the second clip that we just showed. Way loud. He'll go up and down, right? Then we've got loudness. He's going back and forth between loud and kind of loud. Number 3, Steve Jobs is a fast speaker. Not only does he speak with a high number of syllables per minute, but he's pronouncing those syllables quickly. This study says that we will measure a high speaking rate, so high syllables per minute, and we will find his overall utterance durations to be very low. So how quickly he says those syllables. So is he speaking quickly, and does he have a fast utterance rate? Okay.
Now we're going to start
versus we're going to start
with a revolutionary user interface.
With a revolutionary user interface.
The result of years of research and development, and of course it's an interplay of hardware and software. Now, why do we need a revolutionary user interface? I mean, here's 4 smartphones, right? Motorola Q, the BlackBerry, Palm Treo, Nokia E.
Motorola Q, BlackBerry Palm Trail. So like, yeah, I mean, high number of syllables per minute, clearly. Let's count how many syllables.
62, the usual suspects. And what's wrong with their user interfaces? Well, the problem with them is really sort of in the bottom 40 there. It's this stuff.
Like 30 or 40 syllables, and how much time was that? 3 to 4 syllables per second, whereas let's look at Tim Cook and how many syllables per second he speaks with.
This room, town hall, has quite a history at Apple. Just 10 years ago, we launched the original iPod.
Dude, like half the syllables per second. So he's like 1, maybe 2, sometimes 3 if he's saying a full word. That's interesting. So Tim Cook is speaking at almost half the syllables per second as Steve Jobs. And if that has any bearing on charisma, it's no wonder that the current Apple, in its monstrous decline, is using many different people to speak on stage when they do product launches instead of just one person like Steve Jobs. And you'll have to correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, if more people spoke on stage when Steve Jobs was doing product launches.
Whether you need them or not to be there.
Okay, we still just need to see how fast he's pronouncing these syllables.
Plastic and are the same for every application. Well, every application wants a slightly different user interface, a slightly optimized set of buttons just for it. And what happens if you think of a great idea 6 months from now?
What happens if you think of a great idea?
Add a button to these things, they're already shipped. So what do? It doesn't work because the buttons and the controls can't change. They can't change for each application.
So he's slowing down a bit here, but he's still pronouncing the syllables quickly.
If you think of another great idea you want to add to this product.
That's super interesting. He's almost always pronouncing the syllables at the same length per syllable, but he'll slow down the space in between those syllables if he's getting a bit more dramatic, but only slightly though. So Steve Jobs is going to be ending the syllables, and it's just very quick and short. It doesn't matter if it's at the beginning of a sentence or the end of a sentence. Cook, at least from just what I can remember watching this right now, he trails at the end, which is a bit patronizing, and it's kind of boring at the same time.
Here.
It feels
pretentious. And it went on to revolutionize the way we listen to music.
Music. Instead of Steve Jobs, said music. Music.
We launched the new MacBook Air. Which has fundamentally changed the way people think about notebook computers.
So how would Steve Jobs say that? We launched the MacBook Air, which has fundamentally changed the way people think about computers. That's number 3. Obviously, Steve Jobs is speaking at a high frequency of syllables per minute or per second even, 2 times faster or 3 times faster than Tim Cook, and he's pronouncing those syllables at a high frequency of utterance, meaning each syllable is shorter. Lesson from this? If you want to be more charismatic, when I would teach salesmen, I would say, okay, when you shake someone's hand, see how I did that even? I'm like, shake someone's hand. That's kind of patronizing. When you shake someone's hand, hand. Don't say, hey, how are you? If you watch Mitt Romney's presidential campaign, he used to do this crap all the time where it's like, hey, how are you today? They would show him with like the crowd, and he would be talking with people, and he'd be like, hey, how are you? I don't really care about you. That's kind of what that implies in your tone of voice or in that trailing syllable at the end. Instead, I would say, shake their hand, or when you're talking to them, say, hey, how are you today? Short, to the point, concise. It's very sincere if you do that. And the person responding, they would typically give that a good response back, after which I would say, okay, you want to acknowledge or validate the person in what they said to you. So you would say something like, good. Nope, not like that. That's wrong. You would say something like, good, I'm glad. Really glad, with a little smile. So quick, short utterances make you perceived more sincere, confident, and authoritative. And number 4, in this study, we're going to see that he's a fluent speaker, meaning he has a low amount of, what's fluency again? I'm not going to look. If you use filler words, basically. So you don't need filler words in pauses. You have strategic pauses that are either purposeful or not purposeful, but it doesn't really matter because you're not filling them with stuttering. So he sometimes does this, you'll see, but usually it seems strategic to me. Like he's, yeah, like it's part of the actual presentation rather than a stuttering of what I'm going to say next, which the study is characterizing as fluency. So let's look at Steve Jobs' fluency. I'm going to count how many silent pauses versus the number of pauses that do not have silence in them, meaning they have filler words. Okay, and we'll just see how good that is.
Problem. So how are we going to take this to a mobile device? Well, what we're going to do is get rid of all these buttons and just make a giant screen. A giant screen. Now, how are we going to communicate this? We don't want to carry around a mouse, right? So what are we going to do?
Slide pause after
a stylus, right? We're going to use a stylus. No. No. Who wants a stylus? You have to get them and put them away and you lose them. Yuck. Nobody wants a stylus. So let's not use a stylus. We're going to use the best pointing device in the world. We're going to use a pointing device that we're all born with. We're born with 10 of them. We're going to use our fingers. We're going to touch this with our fingers. And we have invented a new technology called multi-touch, which is
okay. In 20 pauses, he did not have one pause that had a filler word in it. He was doing it at the beginning, but you see him settle into this and he's just like, he's dialed, dude. Okay, so let's look at Tim Cook and see how many pauses have filler words in them per 10 or 20 pauses. Because, I mean, Steve Jobs did not have one filler word in his pauses, which measures
Today
fluency,
will
right?
remind you of the uniqueness of this company.
Kind of a pause there.
As we announce innovations
He's pausing
from
everywhere.
our mobile
I'm gonna do the long
operating
ones.
system to applications, to services, to hardware.
Yeah, I'm
and
not gonna
more
count those.
importantly, the integration of all of these into a powerful yet simple and integrated experience. It's an extraordinary time to be at Apple.
Dude, he had 10 pauses and didn't use one filler word. So props to Tim Cook for being fluent. Unfortunately, I don't think that saves him in the charisma category. But if that's a measure of charisma, I would guess that pausing without filler words probably doesn't add much to your charisma, but pausing with filler words most likely is a detractor from charisma. I mean, a competent person, man, it's probably actually that a measure of competency more than anything. Do you know what you're talking about? And Tim Cook knows what he's talking about, clearly. So props to him, but doesn't necessarily make him charismatic, but he is fluent. So check that box for Tim Cook. Steve Jobs is incredible at pausing. The tip there for sales and how the science is backing up what I've always known in sales and what's been really interesting to kind of operationalize or systematize in a sales speech writing or sales program is like pause strategically before you want to make a point or right after the word that you want people to remember or phrase. Number 5, we find a large number of emphatically accented words and different types of accents on those words. So let's see what that looks like from Steve Jobs.
It works like magic. You don't need a stylus. It's far more accurate than any touch display that's ever been shipped.
So I'm going to try to figure out.
It ignores unintended touches. It's super smart.
What types of emphasis he's
You can do multi-finger gestures on it.
With.
And boy, have we patented it.
It's patented. Yeah, like I said, they had the patent wars. That's funny.
We've been very lucky to have brought a few revolutionary user interfaces to the market in our time. First was the mouth.
So the first type of accent that I'm really seeing from Steve Jobs as he emphasizes words is at the beginning of a word. It'd be interesting at some point to analyze why maybe instinctually he's accenting the beginning of a word. And see, like there's just certain words that you don't want to accent the beginning of. The beginning of a word, so when I say beginning, I'm accenting the middle. He accents the beginning of a word pretty frequently, actually. Like when he says revolutionary, that's accenting the beginning. If he were to say revolutionary, that'd be accenting the middle of the word. So there's different varying types of accents on these words that's, I think, interesting. The first one I've noticed is the beginning.
Was the click wheel. And now
click wheel.
We're going to bring multi-touch to the market. And each of these revolutionary user interfaces has made possible a revolutionary product. The Mac, the iPod, and now the iPhone.
Possible.
So
at the beginning,
a revolutionary user interface. We're going to build on top of that with software. Now, software on mobile phones is like baby software. It's not so powerful. And today, we're going to show you a software breakthrough. Software that's at least 5 years ahead of what's on any other phone. Now, how do we do this? Well, we start with a strong foundation. iPhone runs OS 10.
Okay, so there's a word where he accents the middle of the word foundation. Does Tim Cook accent words?
This is my first product launch since being named CEO. I'm sure you didn't know that.
He's been named CEO. CEO is at the end of the
It is
word
a pleasure to host you today.
Pleasure to host you today.
I love Apple.
I mean, just in the few seconds there, Tim Cook is making accents usually at the beginning of the word, but not as pronounced as Steve Jobs. Definitely Steve Jobs is accenting like almost every word in some point, and he's accenting the words that he really wants you to look at or pay attention to the word before or after it. Last one, guys. Much like the high variability in his pitch and loudness, we should also see as the last point of Steve Jobs' charisma is utterances to show a great rhythmic variability. You can hear how I even just said that. Like rhythmic, the first thing that I'm saying. It's like ri is the longer note, and then mic is shorter. Rhythmic variability. And then when I say variability, it's da-da-da-da-da.
iPhone runs OS 10.
Bum, 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 bum.
Now, why?
So if Steve Jobs did not have rhythmic variability, what we would expect is him to continue to speak like this. iPhone has OS 10. Bum, 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 bum. And then the next thing he should say should sound like that rhythmically. Why do you think I'm saying it like this? Because I'm bored and I've been memorizing this. And because I've been talking to customers all day. Some not as weird version of that is typically what salesmen fall into, in my experience, that makes people hate them even more than they already do if they're not speaking with the other charisma things we're talking about here. But rhythmic variability is an easy indicator of somebody who is charismatic. So let's see how variable his charisma is. Or variable his
Why
rhythm
would we
is.
want to run such a sophisticated operating system on a mobile device? Well, because it's got everything we need. It's got multitasking. It's got the best networking. It already knows how to power manage. We've been doing this on mobile computers for years.
So notice how when he said those three things, it's got power tasking, it's got da-da-da-da, it's got da-da-da-da-da. Usually if you want to make something obvious, the implied obvious tonality actually has this rhythmic pattern built into it where you're speaking in the same rhythm over and over and over again because it's implying that like, this is obvious. We've been doing this forever. It's honestly like brilliant tonally from a charisma standpoint because it really drives home in the audience's mind or in the person you're trying to persuade, it drives home that like, yeah, see, they've been doing this while we've been doing this and we've been doing this and we've been doing this. So that rhythm in my voice that's the same will trigger an implied obviousness to you. And if I'm talking about something that we've been doing for a long time and I want that to feel obvious, these guys just started doing this thing and now we are doing it. We've been doing it forever. And look at this and look at this. That same rhythmic pattern will indicate to you that we're the boss and we're better than, you know, competitor A or B.
Security and the right apps. It's got everything from Coco and the graphics, and it's got core animation built in.
Core animation.
And it's got the audio and
right
video
here.
that OS 10 is famous for. It's got all the stuff we want.
Famous for, obviously.
And it's built right in to iPhone. And that has let us
create what this tonality is saying is it's obvious that we would do this because we're the best.
Top class applications and networking. Right?
Right.
Not the crippled stuff that you find on most phones. This is real desktop class applications.
And then he'll shift it when he wants you to focus on the thing that they're doing better.
One of the pioneers of our industry, Alan Kay,
that's revolutionary.
has had a lot of great quotes throughout the years. And I ran across one of them recently
that his rhythm is completely different now.
How we look at this. Explains why we go about doing things the way we do. Because we love software.
He shifts rhythm.
And here's
his rhythmic patterns like
people who are really serious about software should make their own hardware.
He shifts rhythmic
said
patterns
this 30 years ago.
every 2 or 3 tonal phrases
This is
when
how
he's
we
not in
feel about it.
obviousness.
And so we're bringing breakthrough software to a mobile device for the first time. It's 5 years ahead of anything on any
Dude, this is so good. This is a masterclass.
The second thing we're doing is we're learning from the iPod.
All right, guys, that's all we're going to go over today because we've been doing this for way too long. Dude, freaking masterclass in vocal charisma. Holy cow. I could teach everything that anyone needs to know about being charismatic and persuasive just by watching this. How many minutes did we watch? 10 minutes of the first iPhone presentation, iPhone product launch. Man, it makes me want to go buy an iPhone. That's it. That's all she wrote, folks.